Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here once again with the Empire, going to be taking on the Vampire Counts this time in a classic matchup. We've got Volkmar the Grim here today to deal with them, of course, bringing his Holy Fire with him. Speaking of Holy Fire, we've got a Warrior Priest here supporting these Demigryph Knights with halberds, the Royal Altdorf Griffites, in fact, not just any old Demigryph Knights. He's got the Banner of Eternal Flame, which gives a bit of weapon damage and, more importantly, fire damage to these demis. We've also brought the Area of Effect melee attack buff, the Hammer of Sigmar, now an Area of Effect plus 26 melee attack, so we're going to be looking to pair that with these Royal Altdorf Griffites as well. Our third character is going to be a fire wizard here, a bright wizard, in fact, on foot. Didn't quite have enough for a horse for him, so he's just on foot here. Cascading Fire Cloak, Flaming Sword of Ruin, and the Burning Head are going to be his spell selections. We've got the Luminarch of Hysh, straight front and center, already popping off a shot into my opponent's corpse cart there, which is going to do some devastating damage. Again, fire damage on this guy, so he synergizes quite well with the Bright Wizard and more. We've also got some Reiksguard out to the flanks, front line of Spearmen with Shields, and a couple of Flagellants, who I quite like in this matchup. Now that they've got a bit of an HP buff, they can really cut through Vampire Chaff quite effectively. For my opponent's build, he's got, who's that? Is that? Oh man, it's Isabella von Karstein. This is actually probably the first battle I've seen Isabella in Game 2. Just really doesn't get a lot of love. The Vampires have so many good lore choices. And with Kemmler being more competitive, you know, Helmengorst is a meme. Manfred's competitive. I say Kemmler's competitive. I don't know if he's really super competitive, but he's better. Vlad is really good in certain matchups. So Isabella just kind of doesn't have a place, but my opponent's brought her here, so say hi to Isabella, folks. And I believe the idea here is to use her item here, the Blood Chalice of something or other, Bathori, to heal these White Kings. So she's got a White King here supporting the mobile group and a White King here supporting the infantry group to provide some extra leadership. And the White Kings also do have anti-infantry, pretty good melee character, not incredible, but they can definitely get some work done against the right targets. 2 units of Blood Knights and the Dire Pack supporting in this mobile group here. We've got a unit of Bats with Isabella. The infantry group with the White King going to be a couple of Graveguard in the rear. We've got the Königstein Stalkers, front line of Skeleton Spearmen, 5 of them, and the Corpse Cart, which is about to get deleted. So let's go ahead and watch that happen. You can see the Luminarch in the distance charging up its laser cannon and then going to be popping off a shot, despite the fact that the Corpse Cart's trying to side strafe. It's too slow and just gets capped. So Corpse Cart down right off the bat. We're going to drop a Net of Amantok, the bound Net of Amantok, in fact, from the Templehof Luminarch, turn around and then pop a Flaming Sword of Ruin, which does in fact buff missile damage. So we're going to buff the missile damage here a bit. Not only that, but we also proc the Kindle Flame, giving an additional weakness to fire to Isabella. Don't catch her with the direct hit, but a nice glancing blow there, doing quite a bit of HP damage. She immediately pops the Blood Chalice on herself to heal herself back up. So we're already starting to pull the cooldown off that, which is exactly what I wanted. Eat up Isabella's healing cap right off the bat. You can see my opponent responded by summoning some zombies here in the back line, and we immediately collapsed with these Reiksguard and the Flagellants here doing quite well to hold the line. Meanwhile, we're pulling back a little bit here, trying to form in a little bit more of a defensive position. My opponent has his mobility force here on the side, get a great charge through these Spearmen with Shields, and then immediately pull away. A very nice cycle charge there. And then the Bat's going to be following up, where we've got the Luminarch locked on to Isabella, but my opponent's doing exactly what he should, which is flying at a side-to-side angle. You can see a clean miss there. When you fly side-to-side, it makes direct line of fire units, it makes it a little harder to hit. So you can see, excuse me, Empire State Troop Spearmen getting in the main line engagement here, mixing it up with the Skeletons. Reiksguard trying to be kept in a little bit more of a defensive position while we get more pitched engagement here. The bound item for the White King, I forget the name, that little breath attack there did some okay damage to the Flagellants, who are now going to come in and try and get in on these Skeleton Spearmen. Meanwhile, the Flagellants over on this side getting support from Volkmar himself, crumbling away. They'll definitely cut through these Skeleton Warriors, or Skeleton Spearmen rather, no problem. Saw that Luminarch popped off a shot, got a good hit into the Blood Knights, and then here come the Demis with their juiced up melee attack from the Grand Hammer of Sigmar. Kind of like a similar effect you guys have seen me use of the Royal Altdorf Griffites with Franz. So instead of the Reichland Runefang in standard ground, we've got Cascading Fire Cloak and the Grand Hammer of Sigmar. So, yeah, the Reichsguard also going to come in to support this big old pitched cavalry engagement here. We've got some spearmen supporting on both sides. However, my Flagellants should be able to clean up the opposing spearmen relatively easily. Meanwhile, Isabella trying to come down and get on this Fire Wizard, but this is a huge risk considering how much heavy cavalry I have on the table. We're going to drop a net on her just to make sure she can't get away, keep her locked on the ground with these Reichsguard here, and then actually pull, I believe, the Royal Altdorf Griffites back to deal with her as well. Another timely zombie summon, going to be trying to tie down this Tempelhof Luminarch as the Blood Knights who had pulled away, going to be coming back in for another timing push. So a big, messy brawl about to unfold here. The Reichsguard having to be put forward as a bit of a block while we try and finish off Isabella here. Of course, the Altdorf Griffites, getting a little tongue-tied here, are going to be the main force for going after Isabella. The Warrior Priest himself will actually do a pretty decent job as well. Isabella only has 80 armor. This guy has decent-ish combat stats, so especially if he gets attacks into the back of the unit model there, it'll be pretty decent. A nice burning head coming down, just trying to burn out these skeletons in the front line. You can see we're actually winning the front line engagement pretty well. These Flagellants trading very well against the skeleton spearmen in this pocket. And a lot of the vampire infantry crumbling away at this point. You can see Conic Sign Stalkers crumbling here, just not able to hold up their leadership due to repeated rear charges by Volkmar there. So yeah, nice Flaming Sword of Ruin going down, giving everyone fire damage and giving a nice timing push. We've also got the other buffs in there as well, that Grand Hammer of Sigmar. Getting all the units in this pocket. It's dropped already, but it was at least. The Blood Knights a little bit in a little bit of a rough engagement here, being surrounded by State Troop Spearmen. They've got Reichsguard on one side, who they would beat normally, but you know, in a pitched engagement like this, they're really not going to like their situation too much. Unfortunately, the Royal Altdorf Griffites have taken a ton of damage here. Isabella managed to sneak away, and is enterprising White King trying to go after this Volkmar the Grim and the Luminarch here. Oh man, point blank potentially from the Luminarch. I didn't quite catch that, but Isabella very, very low at this point. Going to try and pull away, summon some more zombies here. She's gotten a little bit over aggressive in combat here, and honestly probably should have just stayed running around in the air. You can see the balance power is tipped pretty heavily in my favor with the leadership damage that's been done, and the Altdorf Griffite's going to come in one more time against these Blood Knights. We don't have the Grand Hammer of Sigmar this time, so we might actually fall, but just needed to do whatever damage I could to try and finish off these Blood Knights. But yeah, you can see once things get turned around, those Altdorf Griffites going to be routed off, and the Blood Knights focusing on Volkmar. Thankfully, we do have, ooh man, Isabella just taking a shot right there, down to only 23 hit points, and she's probably just going to crumble away at this point. Yep, looks like the crumbling got her. So Volkmar, surrounded by Blood Knights, does get that Grand Shield of Faith to give himself some damage resistance, so he won't take too much damage from the Blood Knights. Meanwhile, we've got Flagellants and Spearmen on station, giving some support, dealing some damage. Reichsguard cleaning up zombies and skeletons in the back line. In fact, those are Graveguard, but yeah, the Skeleton Spears aren't going to be great for us, but Volkmar coming in, giving that Grand Shield of Faith, and providing a nice rear charge buff as well. I say buff, it's really a leadership debuff to the, the Vampire Counts units, but at this point, looking pretty solid for the Empire. Tempelhof Luminarch has managed to escape once again and is just kind of chilling on the side there, trying to decide what to shoot at this point. And I'm like, you know, Volkmar's got a pretty good blob around him, so maybe we shoot at that. And so we're going to turn to do so in just a moment. Warrior Priest just kind of chilling here. We're going to get him moving into this late game blob here as well. So yeah, Flagellants coming in, and I definitely like Flagellants quite a bit more in this matchup and in other matchups as well. I don't think they're necessarily going to be your go-to automatic frontline troop. I still think that state troops are definitely the key there, particularly Spearmen and Spearmen with shields. But yeah, I definitely like Flagellants more. I think they can definitely be part of a good combined arms strategy for the Empire. So they definitely seem to do well against the Chaff here. You can see 101 kills and 180. So yeah, very impressive stuff done. And the Warrior Priest in here mixing things up, trying to go after the White King. But yeah, at this point the leadership damage is just gonna be a bit too much for the vampires to handle. Actually, probably don't want to fight the White King one-on-one here, just because he's got much better stats. I say that, you know, they actually kind of have the mirror in terms of attack and defense, but Nonetheless, we're going to pull back away and try and take advantage of that 50 charge bonus one more time here. The Tempelhof Luminarch is popping off shots at Graveguard left and right, up to 180. Oh, that was Volkmar. 186 kills on Volkmar. Holy cow! But 108 on the Tempelhof Luminarch, as well as doing some damage to some high-value targets. The White Kings crumble away, and it will be victory for the Empire. So, very well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Not too often you get to see Isabella von Karstein on the field, so I figured you guys would want to watch that. Volkmar is also a ton of fun as well, so hey, there you go. 186 kills on the man himself, 17 on that Bright Wizard from the 2 Burning Heads. He also provided some really nice Cascading Fire Cloaks and the Flaming Sword of Ruin as well. The Warrior Priest able to get 31 kills, again providing some nice buffs. My opponent didn't bring any Terrorgeists or, Varix Reavers or any regenerating units for that matter besides the Corpse Cart, so I really didn't get to take advantage of the fire damage in that way, but every time I cast a spell I'm still getting that timing burst from the Kindle Flame at the very least with that Flaming Banner from the Warrior Priest, so I do quite like that synergy, and that the Battle Prayer, the Grand Hammer of Sigmar, the Hammer of Sigmar rather, that's the one that he has, makes that that much better to have him support those Demigryph Knights, so did quite well. The Reichsguard also cleaned up a whole lot of kills, 146, 177. Flagellants also doing their part, 180, 102. My opponent definitely had a lot of chaff to cut through, and we were able to do so pretty effectively. So for my opponent, Isabella is an interesting pick. I don't know that she'll ever be the most competitive pick, but, it's fun and different. I definitely see what my opponent was going for there, using Isabella to heal the White Kings. I just think that he was a little bit too aggressive with Isabella there, trying to dive that Fire Wizard, and then just ended up getting inundated by Knights and just took a ton of damage. Then she did the same thing to the Luminarch, and the same thing happened. So a little bit of a rough time there. I think if my opponent had just continued to fly around with Isabella and just provide healing, rather than using that Blood Chalice on herself, she could have put it on the White Kings, and maybe that's the whole idea. But yeah, my opponent, the Blood Knights, did quite well. You can see XP chevrons all around, 48 and 80 kills. Other than that, though, the Graveguard underperformed. The Skeletons just kind of got cut through a little bit, and losing that Corpse Cart early on, of course, was pretty rough. That's 500 resources down the drain almost immediately. So Corpse Carts can be a big risk against the Empire because they'll get deleted by Empire artillery very, very quickly. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed watching this battle. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thank you once again for watching, and we'll see you next time.